Well, hey, Fullness friends. I don't know about you, but I'm really starting to miss being around the people and friends that I haven't been able to see. And today we're going to hear about a man who had a sickness called leprosy. And just like the coronavirus, people were really afraid of catching it. And so this man had to stay away from all of his family and all of his friends. But Jesus helped him. And today we're going to show how Jesus' power helps us when we're lonely too. So before we get started, you're going to need to gather a few supplies. So what I want you to go and get is a ruler or a tape measure, and then a clear container. You could use like a water bottle or a plastic Tupperware container as long as it's clear. And you're going to fill it up about 1/3 of the way with water, and then you're going to need some oil. So 3 things: ruler or tape measure, clear water container filled 1/3, and the oil. So pause the video and go and gather those things. Great, everybody's back and ready to go. So one of the hardest things for many people is not being able to see your friends or extended family. Go around the circle real quick and share the name out loud of somebody that you're really missing. Awesome. Well, being separated from people that we care about can make us feel lonely, but Jesus' power helps us when we're lonely. And today we're going to hear about how Jesus' power helped a man in the Bible who was probably very lonely. Well, back in Bible times, there was a disease called leprosy. And if you got it, you would get these really painful sores all over your body. It could cause you to lose your fingers or your toes, and you might even die because there was no cure. People were really afraid of catching this horrible disease, much like people you hear today talking about being afraid of getting this virus. And so they're telling us to do certain things in order to stay safe. One of them is to wash your hands really well. Have you been washing your hands? Have you been singing a song while you wash your hands? What song do you sing? Yes, a lot of people are singing the ABC song. Let's pretend to do it. Ready? Go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Awesome. Got those hands really clean? Well, another thing that they're telling us to do is probably a new word in your vocabulary: social distancing, meaning stay a little distant from people. And they're telling us to stay 6 feet away. Well, how far is that anyway? So I want you to get out your ruler or your tape measure and mark off 6 feet, just so that you can get a good idea of how far is that. And maybe if your dad is about 6 feet tall, he could lay down on the floor and you could see, oh, this is about the length of my dad. So pause the video and mark off your 6 feet. You know, people in the Bible also practiced social distancing, even though they may not have called it that. But they were so afraid of catching leprosy that it was actually against the law for anyone with leprosy to come near. The person had to stay way out of town. And if somebody came by where they were required to call out, "Unclean, unclean," so that everyone would know to stay away, because nobody wanted to accidentally touch someone who had leprosy. So let's see what that would be like. All of these rules must have made the person feel pretty lonely. So go ahead and reach out and see if you can hug that person in your family that is 6 feet away from you. Stretch your arms. Can you give them a hug? Can you give them a high five? Unless you have really long arms, you probably cannot touch that person that is 6 feet away. So Pause and talk about this question with your family. How do you think it would feel to have to be this far apart from everyone for years? Pause and talk about that. Well, it can be pretty lonely to not ever get to be able to be close enough to someone to give them a hug, a high five, a pat on the back. And that's how it was for this man in the Bible. But let's see what Jesus did when he met someone with leprosy. And if you want to follow along in your Bible, you can turn to Matthew chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. So when Jesus walked along, a man with leprosy came up to him out of the crowd. The man knew Jesus had the power to heal his leprosy. So he said to Jesus, "Lord, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man and answered, "I am willing, be healed." And the man was healed instantly. Did you hear what Jesus did? It said Jesus touched the man. Now, this man, like we said earlier, he has not been touched in a long time in any way, not the slightest little pat, no hugs for so long. And Jesus, he could have stood back and stretched his hand and said, "Be healed," and the man would have been healed. But Jesus knew that this man not only needed to be healed physically, but his heart needed to be healed of the loneliness that he felt. This man needed to feel the love of Jesus right there by having his arm on his shoulder. He needed that loving touch to heal his loneliness. Now, me and you, we need to be wise and we need to protect ourselves from sickness right now. But being separated from people can make us feel really lonely. So talk about this question. Who do you know that might be feeling lonely right now, and how could you reach out to them? Pause and discuss. Well, thanks for sharing. We can reach out to people who are lonely. Even when no one else is around, though, we can know that Jesus' power helps us when we're lonely because he is always right there to comfort us and to heal our hearts. Okay, so the people in Jesus' time did not want to mix in with the people who had leprosy. So we're going to do a fun science experiment. So this is the place where you're going to need to get your water and your oil. So take the lid off your bottle. And if you need to pause the video and make sure that your container has a lid, I think I failed to say that earlier, you need to have a lid. So pause and get that if you need to. And so now that we're back, we're going to get our oil and we're going to pour the oil into the bottle about the same amount that you have water. So let Miss Kathy try this. Is that about the right amount? Maybe just a little more. Okay. So you have your water bottle and you have the oil, about equal amounts of water and oil, and make sure that lid is really tight. And then we're going to shake it back and forth for about 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got it all shaken up? Let's stop and look. Now look at our water. It's kind of milky looking now. We mixed it up really good, but let's see what happens when it settles down. So I'm just going to leave my bottle right over here. And I'm going to keep talking, and you can keep staring at your bottle and watch it. And while we're waiting, let's talk about this question with our family. What do you miss most because you're separated from others right now? Pause and discuss. Okay, so as the mixture settles down, it doesn't look like the oil and the water are really mixed. It seems like the oil and the water want to stay separated. I think they're practicing social distancing. But you know what? Oil and water naturally want to separate, but it is not so natural for us to want to separate because God created us for relationship. And being separated from others can make us feel lonely, but I want us to know today that Jesus' power helps us when we're lonely. And even though we're separated from a lot of our friends, we still have our family with us. And we're still able to connect with people online like me and you are doing right now. And so I'm thankful for that. So if it's healthy for you, go ahead and give your family a big group hug right now. Ready, set, go. And be sure and thank everyone in your family. Thank Jesus for each other. I love you. See you next time.